Hi, my name is Frank Schaefer, and I am a writer and a commentator, and I have a podcast called In Conversation with Frank Schaefer. But today, I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about someone else's book. Literally overused, but I'm going to say it. This is one of the best books I've ever read. Best written, most gripping, and most significant if you're interested in the gun lobby and there just being too many goddamn firearms floating around our country. But Friendly Fire by Paul Rousseau tells the story of a college kid, Paul Rousseau, who's sitting in a room minding his own business, and his friend, who's a gun nut, in a room next to his in college, just happens to fire through the wall, doesn't know that he's got a gun that's loaded in his lap, and hits Paul in the head. And then Paul wrote a story, which is unbelievable. The chapters are short because his brain was so injured that his attention span was diminished, but not his chops as a writer. He's a brilliant writer. Friendly Fire tells the story of Paul Rousseau's comeback from the grave, literally, hit in the head by a bullet coming through the wall. Did the campus police do anything? No, they tried to cover it up. Did the college do anything? No, it tried to cover it up. And the only reason he's alive is a friend came in an hour after he'd been shot lying on the floor while his friend ran around hiding his guns, and finally got him to the hospital where he had major brain surgery and was pulled back from the brink of death. He had a brave mother and a brave fiancé who stood by him for the years of litigation with the school that tried to cover it up. So this is a story of the gun lobby gone wrong in the hands of one fool of a student who fires through a wall, another guy's hit in the head, and then a cover-up because no one wants to talk about the fact that there were guns on campus that shouldn't have been there. No one wants to talk about the fact that Paul Rousseau was alone and his school didn't want to have anything to do with him. In fact, the shooter, had an easier time than he did. It is an incredible story. If you want to read just a really goddamn great book, and I say this from my heart as a writer, Friendly Fire by Paul Rousseau is it. If you want to read a book that tells you everything you need to know about guns gone wrong in America without even making the point, it's subtle, it's beautiful. It's not a preachy book at all. It just tells one person's story. But Paul's story is the one you want to read. And I have a book club attached to my podcast. My podcast is In Conversation with Frank Schaefer, and I talk to Paul on my podcast. You can go back and watch the interview. It's great. But I also have a book club. It has to be read, which is sort of a takeoff on my Substack commentary page. It has to be said. It has to be read. Well, Paul's book is our book club offering right now on It Has to Be Read. Buy the book and read it. And if you're in a book club or a book group, I promise you, you will never have read a book that will cause better discussions, be more moving, and you're going to meet an incredible person. His name's Paul Rousseau, in an incredible book. And I encourage Paul to keep on writing when I interviewed him because he's a great writer on top of it. This isn't a one-off story by some guy who's just telling a story you'll never hear of again. You'll see more books by Paul Rousseau in the future. He's got what it takes to be a terrific American writer. Friendly Fire, Paul Rousseau, read the book. Please, please. My name is Frank Schaefer.